Tonight, positive coronavirus cases in one of our national parks, the latest from Yellowstone. Plus, with smaller class sizes, how private schools are gearing up for the fall semester, and later.
What happens if your child's school shuts down because of a COVID outbreak and you can't go to work? Coming up, we take a closer look at the laws that could help you keep your job if you're forced to stay home with your kids.
From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 10 o'clock news.
Thanks for trusting MTN News this Tuesday night. I'm Keely Van Middendorp. Tim McGonigal is on assignment. First tonight at 10, a look at the state's latest coronavirus numbers. 4 more COVID-19 related deaths have pushed Montana's total to 52. 2 of the victims are from Custer County, 1 from Yellowstone and 1 from Gallatin. The state of Montana reports 94 new cases since Monday, and the state total is inching towards 3,500. There are more than 1,200 active cases in the Treasure State tonight. In news around the state, 2 Yellowstone National Park concession workers and 3 visitors have tested positive for COVID-19. 1 employee tested positive outside the park and had limited contact with employees or guests. The others were kept in isolation inside the park. The 3 guests felt sick and went to park clinics where they tested positive. 1 visitor spent 1 night in the park. The other did not stay in the park, and the third spent a week in the park. It is not known where or when that person was infected.
I think we've done a good job of threading the needle of getting a lot of services open and opened with proper mitigation that both protects visitors and, importantly, employees working in these facilities.
Shawley says some of the visitors had symptoms before entering the park. He says people should do the responsible thing and not come to Yellowstone if they are sick. And as the school year quickly approaches, families have some potentially difficult choices to make about what education looks like this fall. Tonight, we're continuing an initiative called Safely Back to School. Throughout this week, we'll look at different perspectives and options for parents and students. Foothills Community Christian School offers a private tuition-based education for around 150 pre-K through 12th grade students. They'll start the school year on August 31st with face-to-face instruction. The average class size at Foothills is 10 students, making social distancing a fairly easy task in the classroom. Face coverings will be optional for both staff and students.
The general philosophy is, as a faith-based school, we're interested in doing things that are faith-directed as opposed to fear, or as opposed to being presumptive or arrogant in terms of doing things and ignoring the realities that we face. And so that's a very small bandwidth.
And Culpeper says they sought counsel from the CDC, City County Health Department, and others in coming up with their plan for the academic year. If the governor should take Montana back to phase 1, Foothills would revert to remote learning. Well, there's a lot of uncertainty surrounding the upcoming school year, and for one Helena kindergarten teacher, she says in person or online, she will teach her students with the same passion and joy as any other year. Joanna Nelson has been teaching for 8 years and says that this year her kindergarten class at Fort Georgians will look a lot different. When asked what teaching kindergartners online was like during the spring, Joanna admitted there were some challenges, but she still doesn't even know if they will be teaching in person or online, and says she's prepared for whatever the district decides.
Things may look a little bit different, but kindergarten really is all about the joy of learning. So I want my kids to have the love of learning that will carry them throughout their education. And so whether that learning is in person or through a computer, my desire and passion to do that will be the same.
And no matter what platform Joanna uses to educate her kindergartners, Joanna says she will be doing her best to stay in close contact with students and parents who are concerned about the upcoming year. And as children head back to school, parents can send them with materials and good advice that will keep them safe from coronavirus. First, having a good supply of masks is important. Parents should remind children to keep their hands off the masks and away from their face. And they can also pack FDA-approved hand sanitizer with their children's school books. And one of the most important things parents can do is encourage their kids to wash their hands as much as they can while they're at school. Well, what happens when your child gets sick and you can't work? What if your child's school shuts down because of a COVID-19 outbreak? They are questions families are struggling with as a new school year approaches. Tonight, as so many of you think about getting children safely back to school, Chris Kant takes a closer look at parents' rights when it comes to your job and family.
And the yard's been a godsend.
Okay.
The constant back and forth of a summer consumed with COVID
This has been a summer of popsicles.
has left Acacia Clark and her 3 boys stuck in a state of uncertainty.
I made a decision early on that I was going to try to keep working, and it's been mostly leaving them to their own devices.
This realtor and her husband are both still working, but juggling her business and the kids has proven nearly impossible.
My focus, for my work has been abysmal. So I haven't been able to focus. I'll get in, a few minutes here, a few minutes there, but it's very stressful.
As empty classrooms start to fill back up, Acacia and other parents across the country are stuck, wondering what might happen if their kids catch COVID and they can't work. Chris Fuedo is an employment attorney.
If kids can't go back to school, parents can't go back to work full time.
In March, Congress passed the Family's First Coronavirus Response Act. It gives parents 2 weeks of paid sick leave if you find yourself having to quarantine. Parents also get 2 weeks of paid sick leave at 2/3 your regular salary if your child's school or daycare shuts down because of COVID. And it guarantees 10 weeks of leave at 2/3 your salary if you need to take care of a sick child. Those benefits will run out on December 31st. Another big problem facing parents right now, many have already exhausted all of their leave. So if you do find yourself having to ask your boss for more flexibility, the best advice is to have a plan.
Come up with your plan and say, hey, listen, this is the most that I can do for my employer, or this is how I can do everything I need to do for the employer while still be there for my family.
It's more than being stuck between a rock and a hard place. It's just being in a hard place constantly and not even having a light at the end of the tunnel.
And with a new school year on the horizon, Acacia Clark and parents everywhere are trying to manage whatever the pandemic throws their way.
This is a new normal for years to come.
I'm Chris Conti reporting.
Well, the heat continues for the Treasure State tomorrow. Our Storm Tracker weather team is here to tell us more. Grant Garland joins us now. Grant, a toasty day on tap tomorrow.
It is indeed, Keely. Take a look at this. 92 degrees in Great Falls, 97 degrees for our friends in Havre, 93 in Glasgow as well as Jordan. A very warm day all in all, but what about right now? Well, we are looking at temperatures right in Great Falls, 75 degrees. Helena, a little bit cooler at 74, the same with Hayes. But Fort Benton, 7 degrees warmer than the Electric City at 82. Elsewhere, 78 in Glasgow and 80 in Jordan. We're seeing our winds at 12 miles an hour up towards Glasgow, 4 in Great Falls and 6 in both Helena as well as Lewistown. Now, over the last 3 hours, we have been looking at a few showers and thunderstorms still out and about. One heading out towards Whitefish and the other close to Winnett. So heads up, just a few showers there. We are expecting tonight to be mostly clear to partly cloudy, depending on where you're at. Temperatures falling into the upper 50s. Elsewhere, we're seeing temperatures around 61 degrees in Havre, 62 in Hayes, 59 in Lewistown. Now, some cooler weather is on the way, but we're going to have to deal with the heat through at least the weekend. We're going to talk about all that and more later on, but for now, back to you.
Thanks, Grant. We'll check back in with you soon. Well, the end of the month brings worries for many renters. Some are finding themselves out of work and now out of money to pay for things like rent as extra unemployment benefits end at Saturday in Montana. One organization is ready to help keep roofs over renters' heads as economic uncertainty continues. Since the start of the pandemic, Executive Director Carla Seaman says Opportunities Incorporated has seen the number of renters in need double over the past few months. She says the organization is prepared to handle an influx of renters who are about to receive eviction notices.
That's what we're here for, is to help, to give a hand up, to say, at the time of need that we're here for you.
Opportunities Inc. also works with landlords to settle rental disputes and eviction notices. Seaman says tenants facing financial hardships don't need to be ashamed to reach out and ask for help. They're seeing many new faces that are asking for assistance for the first time. And after one capital city farmers market had closed, another closed early after attendance exceeded the county mandate. Everyone over the age of 5 was donning a mask, social distancing at the Capitol Square Farmers Market. General Services Division were also carefully counting each person attending and closed the market after they reached 250 people. The Capitol Market is relatively small compared to the other farmers markets across the state, with less than 20 total vendors. GSD says they haven't had any issues with the Capitol Square Market crowd following COVID-19 guidelines.
Everybody really supports this market, and our vendors have worked really hard for us to be able to keep it, and so, you know, they all tend to comply. I just had a family just show up a few minutes ago and actually walked up to the table and said, it looks like people are wearing masks and you have a sign that says it. Do you have them? We said, you know, of course we have free masks for everybody, and they were more than happy to put them on.
GSD says they've been working closely with public health since March and want to do what's best for the safety of customers and vendors. The Capitol Square Farmers Market is unrelated to the downtown farmers market. Coming up, a campaign ad is catching heat after hitting the airwaves. That story and more next.
From Montana's news leader, you're watching the MTN 10 o'clock news.
And welcome back. Well, the Great Falls Planning Advisory Board Zoning Commission unanimously approved 2 motions today at a public hearing related to a proposed church moving downtown. The board approved the conditional use permit that would allow the Calvary Church of Cascade County to move into the unoccupied space at 427 Central Avenue. Before that, the board approved an ordinance that allows the city to work around the state's 600-foot rule. Montana law prevents liquor licenses from being issued within 600 feet of a church, but cities can modify that rule in certain zones. The concern is that allowing the church to move downtown could hinder future development. After hearing from the public, the board will add language to the ordinance that would allow gaming licenses within 600 feet as well.
I'm satisfied with our passing of the ordinance and then actually adding the gaming to it as well to protect the downtown businesses and development and also have those uses in congruence with places of worship as well.
Now the recommendations now go to the City Commission for approval. Moving now to the campaign trail, will Montana have an all-mail ballot for the November 3rd election? County election officials in Montana are saying the time to decide is now, and they've asked Governor Bullock to give them that power as he did for the primary election. Across the state, county election officials are finding that the coronavirus pandemic is upending the election landscape. Many of the usual polling places may be inaccessible to the public, and counties say they doubt they can find enough election judges to be at the polls. Under his emergency powers, Bullock can supersede election laws and allow counties to choose all-mail ballots. His office says he'll be consulting with election and health officials and political leaders from both parties before making the call. Election officials say the primary election provided a good test run for an all-mail statewide election, and it was mostly positive.
When we did the primary election by mail ballot, it was safe, it was effective. We had higher turnout than we normally do. So we think given the circumstances and the time frame, that would be the best way to conduct the general election.
The all-mail primary election had a record turnout for a primary in Montana, breaking the old record by almost 90,000 ballots. Well, Steve Bullock's U.S. Senate campaign and a Montana company are asking Montana TV stations to pull a Republican campaign ad saying that they are false and defamatory. The ad, which began running statewide late last week, says Bullock steered state contracts to his brother's company. The ad is from the National Republican Senatorial Committee, which is opposing Bullock in his Senate run against Republican Senator Steve Daines. The Bullock campaign and the company, Pioneer Technical Services of Butte, says it won all the contracts in competitive bidding, and it says that Bullock's brother sold his financial interest in the environmental consulting firm in 2009, 4 years before Bullock became governor. The NRSC says it stands by the ad and notes that Bullock's brother Bill is still on the company's board of directors. A letter from the company's lawyer tells TV stations they could be held liable for defamation if they don't pull the ad.
Well, temperatures starting us off tomorrow, 62 degrees, warming up quickly though to around 90 by 4 p.m. Don't go away. I'll have your 7-day forecast coming up right after this break.
Storm Tracker weather starts now with Grant Garland.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope that you have had a great day today. We are one day closer to Friday. It was a very warm day, 93 degrees here in the Electric City, 92 down towards the capital. If you are up in Havre, 97 degrees, very, very warm, 94 in Glasgow and 98 in Jordan. Now, the average for this time of year is around 86 degrees, so we were 7 degrees warmer, which is a lot warmer in my opinion. The record, though, set back in 1975 when it was 100 degrees, also the year that Fergie and will.i.am, when they were born, two of distinct members of the Black Eyed Peas. Temperatures right now 75 in Lewistown, 80 in Jordan, 78 in Glasgow. Head on out towards the capital, 76 degrees, 77 in both Great Falls and in Havre. With our winds, well, we did see a windy day for some locations, especially up towards Cut Bank when we were looking at wind speeds around 28 miles an hour. Out towards Glasgow, 23 miles an hour. The same without in Helena, and 26 down towards Bozeman. Now, over the last 3 hours, we have been looking at a few showers and thunderstorms still meandering their way around closer up towards Whitefish. Also, right around close to Winnett, we're seeing a few showers out and about there. And the reason why we're seeing this is because of a high pressure that's been allowing for that heat to really build into the state. And that's why we've been seeing those pop-up showers, and that's going to be the continuing trend as we go into tomorrow afternoon. We're going to see a few showers out and about scattered, mainly though down towards the southwest and central part of the Treasure State. Even though we could still maybe see an isolated shower here in Great Falls, I don't think that we're going to see much of any action, though. As we go throughout the day, Wednesday night into Thursday morning, that cold front does start to get closer towards us, and that could possibly kick up a few showers, but I don't think we're really going to see the effects of that at all. I think we're going to be mainly looking at a dry day on Thursday. As far as our winds are concerned, as we head throughout the next 24 hours, we're going to be looking at 10 to 20 mile per hour winds possible for both Great Falls as well as Lewistown. And we're going to be looking at just needing to make sure that we are doing our parts in throwing away our cigarettes properly. Also, if you are having to pull over on the side of the road, make sure you do that on gravel, not on the dry grass, because, well, I mean, I don't have to tell you, we're already pretty dry. Tomorrow, right around 3:30 in the afternoon, we're going to be at 18%, very, very dry. We need to do our part to try and not start any fire. I do think, though, with any thunderstorms that do develop tomorrow, we could be looking at cloud-to-ground lightning, and if that's the case, then we could be looking at a few grass fires starting. Temperatures will warm up to Thursday, 93, 95, Friday through Sunday, before dropping down on Monday to 94, and then on Tuesday, 88. We are expecting a possible cool down, though. That's the exciting news, and that's going to be in the long-term forecast in the next 2 weeks, looking at below average temperatures. And then but unfortunately, we are going to still see drying conditions for us throughout the entire state. Now, temperatures tonight, well, they're going to be falling down to around 61 degrees in Havre, 59 in Lewistown, 62 in Hayes, out towards Glasgow, 66 degrees, and 59 in both Helena as well as Great Falls. Temperatures tomorrow are going to be warming up to around 92 degrees for us here in Great Falls, and close to around 97 in Havre, 93 on Thursday. We will stay mostly dry. Saturday, 95 degrees. It will definitely be a very, very warm weekend. Tom, take it away.
Coming up, we'll tell you how one Montana native made a name for himself on one of TV's most popular shows, American Gladiators.
From Montana's news leader, you're watching the MTN 10 o'clock news.
Welcome back to the 10 o'clock news. Well, today, Frontier Conference coaches detailed what they expect out of each of their teams during the conference's media day held via Zoom. And this year, things look a little bit different. With the Cascade Conference opting to move all athletics to the spring, it will just be Montana teams duking it out for the title this year. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, Carroll College football didn't get a chance to evaluate its transfer and redshirt players, which second-year head coach Troy Purcell said would be near the top of his priorities once practices start on August 15th.
Like us, like everybody, the spring is a great evaluation time to evaluate those redshirt freshmen, and so a lot of those guys are going to have to be looked at and evaluated a little bit closer, you know, as we get into fall camp to see where their development is. And but other than that, I don't know. You know, I just got to see where they're gonna gel. And
the Frontier Conference football season is set to start in September. Well, Well, of the many professional athletes Montana has produced in its history, not many had careers as interesting as Great Falls native Jim Califat. Our Tom Wiley recently sat down with Califat to talk about his path from the gridiron to American Gladiators.
After an All-American career at Montana State, Jim Califat had a chance to fulfill a lifelong dream and play in the NFL. But after stints with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Los Angeles Rams, injuries derailed his career.
And I got hurt with first game, and that was the end of the career. Nobody would ever even look at me. I fractured a scapula and punctured a lung and lost my voice. I crushed larynx, and it took me about 3 years to heal up from that injury, and it was a devastating injury. And I never thought about that could be my last play ever. When it happens, it's emotional. Boy, it was some tough times for me.
But fate works in funny ways. When one door closed, another opened. Jim was training to join the LAPD when he received a call.
And I had an agent because I was doing commercials at the time just to fulfill a void and make a little money. And my agent called and said, "Hey Jim, there's this show called American Gladiators. Do you want to try out?" I said, "Hell yeah." So I tried out, and they called me and said, "Hey, you made the show."
Working on Gladiators was a difficult transition at first for the Montana-raised kid.
The first 2 to 3 years on that TV show, they wanted you to really become Hollywoodish and say stuff, and that's just not me. I'm a serious kind of guy when it comes to, and so that was the tough deal. And then a producer came in our 3rd season and said, "Just be who you want to be."
You can hear a lot more Gladiators memories by checking out the full story at montanasports.com. Reporting from home, Tom Wiley, MTN News.
And Califat was the only cast member to appear on all 7 seasons of American Gladiators. Stick around, a final check of your forecast is next.
Temperatures tonight falling down to 61 degrees in Malta and Wolf Point, 59 in Great Falls, Lewistown, and Helena. We are going to go throughout the day tomorrow with temperatures starting us off right around 62 degrees. We will see a mix of sun and clouds, though, around 90 degrees, though, by 4 p.m. And overall tomorrow, 92 in Cutbank, Great Falls, and Hayes, 97 in Havre, 95 in Glasgow, and 90 in the capital. As far as we go in the next 3 days, we will stay mostly sunny and dry, even though we could see maybe an isolated shower tomorrow. The best chance will be down towards Helena and south. We will look at a very quick warm up to 95 degrees Friday through Sunday. So heads up, it will be a hot weekend. And then we might even start to see a cool down on Tuesday to 88 degrees. We are looking at possible cooler temperatures in long-term forecast.
That is a toasty forecast. Definitely remember to drink lots of water and be fire aware. That's going to be key.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's all the time we have tonight at 10. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great rest of your evening and stay safe.
Good.